Okay, we are going to continue today, and we are going to talk about the left side of this flowchart. So yesterday, we talked about, and your notes should already have this, we talked about the fact that all numbers fall under the name of real numbers. And then we went through the right side, and we had rational numbers, we had integers, we had whole numbers, and then down below we had counting numbers, okay? So we're going to go over here to the left side. Notice there's only one box on the left side of the flow chart, okay? So there's only one other category that falls on this side of the flow chart, and that is called irrational numbers. So on the right side, we have rational numbers, and on the left side, we have irrational numbers, okay? Irrational numbers, I always like to think of them as numbers that don't really make sense because they don't actually ever end, okay? So one of the most popular irrational numbers that we run into is pi, okay? And pi is, of course, 3.14, and then those digits keep going on and on and on. They've never found a pattern, and they've never been able to pinpoint exactly where that number ends. So pi is one of the most popular irrational numbers. The other type of numbers that fall into irrational are square root numbers that don't come out to be those nice, pretty, perfect whole numbers. So yesterday, or in the last video, we did the square root of 36. And we pushed the second button, and then we hit the x squared button, and then we typed in 36, and we got the answer of 6. So that was a rational number because 6 is a counting number, it's a whole number, it's an integer, it's rational, and it's real. It came out to be a nice, pretty, what I like to call a pretty number. Okay? But if we take the square root of 17, and we push that second button and the x squared button, type in 17. Notice that it's a decimal. And notice that in that decimal, there are no numbers that start to repeat. It goes 4.123105626. Okay? That number is going to keep on going. It ends because our calculator window ends, but it doesn't actually end. Okay? So that would be an irrational number. It didn't come out to be a pretty perfect whole number. There are actually way more square root numbers that are irrational than rational, okay? So if you want to figure out, if you're trying to give me an example of an irrational number, you're going to have to make that up on your own. So you're going to have to test it in your calculator. You're just going to have to start pushing in second and that exponent button and just start typing in different numbers, okay? There's going to be more numbers that are irrational than rational if you do that. Okay. All right. There can be negatives in front. Okay, but all that means is, here, let me give you one. So negative square root of 13. So you're going to type in the negative. The negative is down on the calculator right below the 3. And then you're going to do the same thing. So you're going to hit second, that x squared button, and then just type in 13. Notice the only thing it made was your answer be a negative number. Okay. So irrational numbers are pi, and then any square root number that doesn't come out to be one of those perfect nice whole numbers or those counting numbers, okay? As always, if you have any questions about irrational numbers, then make sure you pause the video and ask me. Okay, we're going to do a couple examples, and we're going to, oops, I didn't mean that. Yeah, and we're going to have to decide if they're irrational or if they're rational, okay, or what categories they fall into. So I'm going to put some examples. I'm going to write them up here at the top. Okay, so let's do negative square root of 49. So you want to type into your calculator negative, hit that second button, hit the x squared button, type in 49, and then write down your answer. I always need to see the answer that you get when you type that into your calculator. So negative 7. So really what we're looking at is where does negative 7 fall into these categories? Well, it's not going to be irrational because it stopped. It's not one of those decimals and one of those weird numbers that go on forever and ever. So we know it's going to be somewhere on the rational side. All numbers are real, so I'm going to go ahead and write that down. Okay, and then remember, you want to go into the lowest box. Well, I know that the last box that negative numbers fall into is going to be the integer box. So it's an integer because it's a negative or positive whole number. That means it also has to be rational. So the negative square root of 49 has 3 names. It's real, it's an integer, and it's rational. All right, let's do another one. What about the square root of 57? So type that in. Get that number down, and I always put just the first couple numbers and then put dot, dot, dot if it goes on forever. So since it didn't come out to be a perfect number, it's going to be real, because all numbers are real, and it's going to be irrational. And that's it. Okay, and you're going to have to be able to give me some examples of irrational numbers. And you might just have to play around with that square root button on your calculator until you find one. Okay, but remember there's a lot more irrational square roots than rational. As always, if you have a question, make sure you raise your hand and call me over. I would love to help you.